Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Did That Just Happen? But the first episode on video. So, it's probably going to suck, but we'll get better as we keep going through the process. As long as people keep tuning in, I will keep trying to be better. So, today I was going to talk about Iran. I'm very discouraged about how quiet we've gotten about Iran, especially now that there's, 14,000 lives at stake. Basically, a government-sanctioned genocide about to happen there, and nobody seems to care anymore. Now we're on to body shaming, Jessica Simpson, and conspiracy theorying Aaron Carter, and all of those important first world things that we must do with the freedoms we already have. But I changed my mind about that because I have a question. I have a really serious question. I need some help. I need some advice from the 4 people that tune into this. I want to know, what would you do? What should anybody do? People get wronged every day, and there seems to be 2 main schools of thought. Be the bigger person, just suck it up, walk away, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the other side of it that's, no, we need to speak up for ourselves. We have the right to have our own space. Of course, there's pros and cons to both sides, and I need to know what you would do. What's your advice here? Let me take this way back. So this is going to be one of those podcast episodes where I actually choose to get a little bit vulnerable, and please bear with me because this is a very, very difficult thing for me to do. Now, that being said, let me give you 2 disclaimers. Saying that I'm about to become vulnerable does not mean that if you decide to be a troll and post negative comments in the comment section, that I'm going to wither away to a crying little mass and that you're going to get all the vindication that you need to make yourself feel better about your sad, pathetic little life, because that's not going to happen. I really don't give a shit what you think or have to say. You don't even know me. The only reason you even know my name is because occasionally I introduce myself on this podcast. Number 2, some of the things I'm going to say are about about personal things. But no, don't think for a second that means that I am so vulnerable that you can hit me up in my DMs. I would not fall for the Tinder swindler. I keep everybody at a safe distance and definitely in the friend zone if you make it that far. So, if anything I have to say puts into your mind that you need to try and lead down either of those paths, just know you're going to be wasting your time, because I just won't respond to you, or I'll block you, or whatever. And in 30 seconds, I won't be thinking about you at all anymore. So, now let's get into the vulnerable part. Let's go a little further back. I have never been allowed to really have my own voice. I've never been really allowed to explore who I am as a person. I do not connect emotionally to people. I do not connect. I connect socially, and I do care about people, but on a different level than what most other people might do. Throughout my life, I've either been told I'm too much or I'm too little. I'm never quite enough, especially if I'm too much. If I show my passion, I'm too much. If I hold myself in reservation, I come off as too casual. Who knows? I don't know. These are the opinions of other people that I've heard. So keeping all of these things in mind. However, also keep in mind that I know inside of me there is a very strong, a very big voice. I'm just afraid to say anything because I'm always concerned that there's going to be ramifications to it that maybe I can't deal with, or that, whatever. So I just choose not to. But I have been through the freaking ringer over the last little while, and I'm not quite sure what to do about it. Because I do care about people, I do tend to find myself in situations where I get used by people quite a bit. No matter how many safeguards I try to put up, no matter, whatever. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a risk-taking, like massive risk-taking entrepreneur. So I can tend to sometimes go like, this is an amazing idea. I'm totally on board with you. And I jump in and I help out, and don't worry, we can work out all the details later. Like current situation, I took a commission position with a, believe this or not, commercial debt strategies company. Helped them build a local network. Now, of course, they can work across North America, but I built them enough connections for referrals. They've got access now to hundreds of potential referrals. They never make any notes. The owner of this company never makes any notes whatsoever in our tracking system, so I never know where he's at. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who he's working with. I don't know who of my referrals to him is on the books. So the promises of commissions are drying up fast, very fast. And then there are some services that he does pay for that are extra because they're on my virtual assistant company side. I knew that he was in a bit of a tough spot when we first got started, so I waited on him. And I got permission from him. I kept checking in with him. I got authorization from him that at a certain time we could start issuing invoices from the VA company. So I did, according to his authorizations and whatever. We even discounted it a little bit more to make it a little easier for him because, he was going to Paris for his wedding anniversary. So, of course, times were very hard for him at this point. So we made the invoice as reasonable as we could, sent the invoice to him. That was 2 months ago. He still can't pay or won't pay it. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned, but he's in like collections and commercial debt strategy sphere, and yet he can't pay an invoice that's under $1,000 and won't track properly who he's working with and what's going on so that I actually know if I've got some commissions coming soon for the work, the hundreds of hours of work that I put in to build that network for him and connect him to the people that I did. So what do I do? Do I just pack it up and say, oh, another lesson learned and walk away? Or do I let people know that the collections agency is basically in arrears for under $1,000? Because I'm really, really tired of being walked on and treated this way. Yeah. In the last 2 years, I had a good contract. It was a good contract while I had it. Had it pulled out from underneath me and told that it was because I was getting overpaid, that I didn't, and even tried to gaslight me to the point of telling me it was a good thing for everybody that this was happening and trying to get me to agree to the fact that I was being overpaid. And that I wasn't worth because I wasn't bringing to the table. And it basically all came down to because the owner of the company found out I didn't have a degree. I have 7 years of post-secondary education, but I haven't not finished a degree. So supposedly, even though he was enjoying my work and really liked my work and brought me on board because of the work that I was doing for him in another sphere, all of a sudden, because I didn't have a degree, I wasn't good enough. They gave me 2 minutes notice to get onto a Zoom call and let me go. Severed my contract. Now, keeping in mind that I was doing their social media, video editing, some graphic design, well, not just some, because I was doing their social media. I helped grow their investment network from 700 to 900 potential investment connections, and from like $7 million of assets under management to $8 billion of assets under management. He was paying me $60,000 a year. Then had the colossal gall to let me go in 2 minutes, try to tell me that it was a good thing that it had happened, and then demean me and bring me down by trying to tell me that I was underpaid, that I was overpaid. Sorry. Now, I have applied for other positions, and I have to admit, I don't interview well. So that's the only reason that the one that I really, really wanted didn't work out. It was just a social media, I shouldn't say just, it was a marketing manager, social media management position with a big insurance company. I wasn't even the one that had to create the content. There was going to be somebody else underneath me that worked with me in that capacity. It was a $95,000 a year job. I have not applied for a single role in that sphere, in that realm, since being let go from that contract that wasn't worth at least $75,000 a year income. And it didn't include graphic design. None of them included video editing or any of that kind of stuff. $75,000, $15,000 more a year than what he was paying me. And then actually tries to call me out and tell me that I was being overpaid. And I'm not even going to tell you the financial hardship that has caused me. I'm still trying to dig out from underneath that. And it's not going well. It's not going well. Gotta just keep a positive attitude, right? But seriously, what would you do? Now, I know, like I said, some of you are going to say, oh, you just need to be the bigger person. You just need to pack it up, move on, learn your lesson. But here's the issues I have with that. Number one, it puts out the idea, it gives the message to everybody else that knows any of these people that I've worked with or that I'm connected to, that I'm a doormat, that you can do these things to me and get away with it because I'm not going to stand up for myself. The other thing that it does is it gives these people permission to go out and continue doing this to other people. Because until somebody actually holds them accountable for it, what incentive do they have to be better people, to be, to try and operate as human beings? I'll give you another case example. The last municipal election, I was approached by somebody. I run political campaigns. I'm a campaign manager. It's one of my things. But of course, that's not a full-time gig because that only happens every so often. However, this person was running for city council. He had pretty much zero political experience. He also couldn't fundraise to save his life. And he also couldn't listen to save his life. I told him that I would come on board as an advisor and I would help him out. I would give him advice. I would, talk him through, give him tips and that sort of thing. But I could not afford time-wise or anything to be his campaign manager, especially since it was going to be a volunteer position. Right in the middle of our municipal election, a federal election happened. I got invited out to BC on behalf of one of the political parties to run a campaign in BC. I got there. Things didn't go as planned, even the party. It didn't even go as well as it goes according to what the party was expecting it to. So I wound up switching over to another campaign in a different area of BC and campaign managing that, and then came home at the end of the federal election. Now, this municipal candidate that I had been working with, I told him to collect information, collect data, because there's this portion of any campaign that's called Get Out the Vote, Go TB. And you use your data, because your data is what tells you who is supporting you, who's not sure if they're going to support you, or at least they weren't sure when you talk to them, and who just absolutely does not like you and will not be voting for you at any given time, now or in the future, and just to leave them alone. So he was supposed to be taking this data, taking screenshots of it, sending it to my assistant so that she could upload all of the information into spreadsheets so that we could extrapolate when it came to that final push to get people out to the polls to vote. Do you think he did it? Nope, not at all. It was too much for him. It was complicated, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I come back. I'm driving all over Hell's Half Acre trying to help him out. I'm chastising him for not listening and getting the information that we needed so that we could run a proper Go TV. And, I even designed his door placards, his door hangers, all of that stuff, trying to help him through this process. Basically, winds up going to everybody saying, that I'm his campaign manager, although I never agreed to that. Anyway, needless to say, he came in fourth. I'm not owning that one because I didn't have the data to help him come in first. So a few months after that, a little while after that, he runs an entertainment type business. He needed some help with some gigs in the pubs and that sort of thing. So I said, hey, you know what? I could use some extra cash on the side, so I'll come and do it. I show up for the first shift. I'm thinking after the first shift, this is literally just running stuff off of a laptop. Am I going to make some mistakes the first time I do it solo? Absolutely. Do I really care? Am I embarrassed? Can I recover from that? Absolutely. But I have to be able to have the opportunity to run it in order to make the mistakes and figure that all out. So after the first day of training, I take the laptop and everything back to my place so that I can run some mock sessions with my kids and whatever to make sure that I have all the bugs ironed out. Show up to the second gig, and he shows up again and runs the show. And this keeps happening 6 times. And I'm making comments to him almost every time, do you always put this much time and effort into training people to do this? No, but, and then he would bumble. Basically, it came down to, even though, I'm intelligent enough to be an entrepreneur, to run my own businesses, and to be his campaign manager, he didn't think that I was intelligent enough to be able to, click a couple of buttons on a laptop and figure things out to run some music. Now, he had previously, many times, in front of groups of people, said when he was trying to recruit for these roles with his company, that training was paid. So I'm thinking, okay, great. So I've done these 6 gigs or whatever like that. So I should be, or 4 gigs, whatever it was. So I'm expecting something from him. It's crickets. And I'm just going, what the heck is going on? So I get in touch with him, and he comes back and he says, well, basically what he said is, you took too long to train, so I'm not paying for training. And tried to stiff me, keeping in mind that I had driven my own car, my own gasoline, all of this stuff. And basically at the end of the day, a couple of months later, because obviously I did not go back to work for him because I'm not going to work for free. A month and a half later, or whatever like that, all of a sudden I get this EFT from him for basically what would have been $15 an hour for the hours that I put in. which was less than $200. What would you do? I once again just sucked it up, went quiet, walked away. I have so much anger built up inside of me that I just don't deal with because of people doing these things to me on a continual basis. And I'm sure part of the reason that they do it on a continual basis is because I don't stand up for myself. But here's the flip side of that. What if I stand up for myself? Some of these people know some other fairly notable people. What if I put myself in a position of being made out to be like some petty, vengeful person? Which isn't at all what I want to be or what my intention is. I just want people to know that this stuff is not okay, and I am tired of being walked on all the bloody time. Like, how can you be in the collection stratosphere, like, industry, and not pay an invoice that's under $1,000 when you just went on a frickin' trip to Paris? Like, do I call these people out? I've done hundreds, thousands of hours of work for people with promises, in some cases even with contracts in place, just to basically get pushed off to the side and put down and treated like what I bring to the table doesn't matter or isn't good enough or whatever. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is just a case of they're like, Shannon won't stand up for herself. She won't do anything about it. So why the hell should we have to, why do we care? We don't have anything to worry about. There's also the flip side too of saying negative things that usually don't get, received well. Now, being in campaigns and that, I do know how to flip things, and I do know how to use language in a way that you can nicely convey a negative message. But I literally, honestly don't know what to do about any of this, because no matter which side of it I flip to, there's fear. Massive fear. I either get made to look like and it all comes back to affecting my livelihood. How do I earn a living? I'm putting out job applications. I'm even thinking about going back to school and finishing one of my degrees. Why not? As long as if you're going to allow it to continually wake up every morning, I guess you should do something with it, right? But I'm so tired. Like, even down to, I worked for a farmer's market one time, and got mean girled there because I was trying to help them out. I was charging them $200 a month for social media, and I was going out to that market every week so that I could get content and stuff like that. And I got told that I was being overpaid and that they could get it for less than what I was charging. And I'd like to know where and how they were going to get any kind of quality, especially considering that that's like definitely an on-site gig. You're not going to hire somebody from Fiverr because they can't be there to get the photos and stuff like that. Unless, of course, you're just going to send them the photos. And in that case, then why don't you just do it yourself? Although I think they tried to do it after I left, ungraciously. Because it looked like shit for months afterwards. But yeah, it was, what would you do? Do you stand up for yourself? Do you speak out against these people? Do you speak out and if you do, how do you do that? How do you do it in a way where you continue to be able to move forward and pay your rent and buy groceries? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm having trouble keeping both of those things going. I can't even tell you how many months it's been since I paid all of my bills, because I'm still trying to recover from getting let go in 2 minutes and being told that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't bringing enough to the table, and that I should just be happy with what was happening because it was apparently a good thing for everybody. Like, I'm old now, and I've lived a great deal of my life in fear of being criticized, being belittled, being made fun of, simply for being me. I've been quiet. I've just been trying to make my way. I've just been trying to, but that's not working because, like I said, things are not coming together. So maybe the flip side of that is, well, stand up for yourself. Maybe things will come together. Or maybe they'll get worse. I don't know. I can't be the only one that has these kind of experiences. I hope I'm not. Only in the respect of, I really hope I'm not that special and unique that it's, so easy to continuously degrade me and belittle me and leave me out in the cold like that. I mean, it's even to the point where I can't. When my son comes to me, because he still lives with his dad and his new wife, well, his dad's new wife. When any of my kids come to me and they have a complaint or they've had a tense situation or frustration and they just need to vent, even though we're in private, I still try to defend him. I still try to look at the other side and make excuses and try to get them to consider, which is not fair to them because they're hurting when they come to me. That's the reason that they come to me. And even though he won't hear what I have to say, I'm so concerned that I'll say something that the child, might say back to him or might slip out in a conversation, and it's going to unleash the wrath of the new wife. So I just don't say anything. I still try to make excuses and try to say, hey, look on your dad's side, do that, look on that side, because the last thing I need is for her to come back after my business social media and come out and cyberbully me and attack me again, simply because I've had a portion of my life that I spent with him that created some memories, that created, part of my story that I'm not allowed to talk about. So I don't. And then when my kids come to me and they're still living that part of the story for themselves because, that's their dad. He's still in their lives. I can't say anything. I still, like I said, still make excuses, still try to get them to look at it from his perspective and how things might be for him in his new situation and blah, blah, blah. And because I don't want it. I guess it's conflict avoidance. I just take no risks. Don't say anything. Don't stand up for anything because, it could mean, I'm not saying it will mean, it could mean another negative situation. Yeah. Do I stand up for myself? Do I out these people in a nice way? Just as opportunity presents itself. How do I stop letting people think or giving people the impression that that you can just come to me and use me for whatever and walk away, because I'm not going to do anything about it. What would you do? How would you do it? How have you done it? What were the pros? What are the cons? I need your help. I need your input. I need your insights. And I also need to do more of these vulnerable ones, because maybe then they'll help me figure out who I am so that I can stand up for who I am and be comfortable with that. Maybe that's part of it. Anyway, that's this week's edition of That Did That Just Happen? And yes, all of those things did just happen to me. And I don't know what the hell to do about it, so help me out.